Hello everyone! Last week we spoke about Thrall truly shedding his bonds as a slave and becoming Goel, teaming up with the dragon aspects to save the world, all the while growing ever closer to Agra and making the family that he'd always desired. With one threat taken care of, the so-called Age of Mortals was upon us. Goel stayed on as leader of the Earthen Ring, continuing their work of healing the world. Meaning that Garrosh Hellscream also stayed on as Warchief of the Horde, and he always had a different vision than Thrall. In his mind, the Horde should not have to beg or bargain. They had might and should claim whatever they needed, whatever they desired. He was going to bring war back into Warchief, setting their sights on claiming the world. First step, taking out Fedamore, the place where Jaina had settled after working together with Thrall. She had dreams of peace, dreams that Thrall had shared with her. But making Garrosh follow that path would be near impossible. So it was that she met with Goel, asked him if he could perhaps return to set things right. Perhaps just arrange a meeting of sorts to make sure that Garrosh would not get out of hand. The death of Cairn, the war with the Alliance, it didn't make him beloved with all the leaders of the Horde. Surely they could come up with some kind of agreement, some kind of peace. Goel was not going to give up the life that he had built, or forsake the charge with the Earthen Ring. Sure enough, the news of what Garrosh had done, it weighed heavy on his heart, but it would be unfair to say that it was just Garrosh wanting this war. The Alliance had struck out their fair share as well. It seems, with Thrall gone, the only one that was still at their side who would share the vision of the world was young Anduin Wrynn, old enough to care, but too young to actually do anything about it.
Farewell, Jaina.
Goel returned to the Maelstrom, leaving Jaina to deal with Garrosh on her own. Soon enough, the Horde marched for war, and Garrosh wasn't shy to use or do whatever to get the job done. Despite the world still reeling from the cataclysm, he had their shamans twist the elements, enslave molten giants to their will, and blew up Fedamore with the use of a mana bomb. All within the city, including Jaina Proudmoore, were presumed to be dead. Word of what happened reached Goel. He was grieving, shocked, furious. He wanted nothing more than to don armor, pick up the Doomhammer and march straight to Orgrimmar to punish Grum Hellscream's son for all the foolish, arrogant, devastating things that he had done. Garrosh was his mistake, his responsibility, and no one else's. He had tried to instill Orcish pride within Garrosh, but instead of taking the best of his father's lessons, the young Hellscream had taken the worst. But he couldn't go, could not satisfy his pain. Not yet. Even if Jaina Proudmoore's ghost were to show up and cry for vengeance right this moment, he would have to tell her no. Nothing is greater than this duty right now, so he stayed at the Maelstrom. Meanwhile, Jaina had survived the attack and made her own plans of getting revenge. She gathered a massive tidal wave to flood all of Orgrimmar in one single sweep. Garrosh, their warriors, but also the children. All the other innocents inside would feel her wrath, and far away, Goel received a call from the elements. She was forcing them to do something they did not want to do, so her world shaman was summoned to stop her. Not as easy as you might think. Despite the long-time friendship, he was unable to get through to her. Part of the blame was on his shoulders after all, so they entered an epic battle for control over the tidal wave. One which a powered-up Jaina was easily winning. Thrall wouldn't let this happen though, not as long as he was still alive, and Jaina was ready to fix that, to end his life, just as the blue dragon Calico showed up. He was able to get through to her, convince her that she doesn't want to become an Arthas. Together, they're able to push her away from this plan, to not let innocents pay for the crimes of the Warchief, and instead, she used the tidal wave to defeat Garrosh, but Orgrimmar and the Horde still stood. Their coming war would rock the world every bit as the Cataclysm had, and the casualties would be many. Amongst them was the friendship between Jaina and Thrall. It would be a long, long time, if ever, before she could call Thrall friend again, and she knew that he knew. With deep sadness in his heart, Goel went back to the Maelstrom to continue his work, while Warchief Garrosh pushed on with his plans of war. Pandaria was discovered, a land full of resources, people, and weapons that Garrosh was mighty interested in. Throughout the expansion, more and more of the leaders of the Horde, they opened their eyes to the path that the Warchief was guiding them on. all with the strength to stand at his side, were welcomed within his horde. But this was not the family that Thrall had built. This was not the vision of the horde as they saw it. It all reached its peak when Vol'jin of the Darkspear trolls spoke out and got his throat sliced for the efforts. Barely clinging on to life, he found by his old friend Chen storms out. He hands us his Hearthstone, tells us to go find Thrall. At the Valley of Trials, we see him there, together with Agra and the newborn child. Where once he had decided to stay out of the affairs, he now believes the situation to be dire enough to step in. The Echo Isles have been placed under martial law by the Warchief. There's horde fighting against horde here. Thrall can't believe what has happened to their family. They don't even answer to him anymore, as the new Warchief has reminded them that they're strong. So Goel, he has no other choice but to strike out. Clean out enough of the Kor'kron so that the Darkspears can reclaim their isle. He has some really hard decisions to make, and next time that we see him is with the Darkspear Rebellion. Vol'jin has regained his strength, is ready to lead the horde and kick Garrosh out of the mantle of Warchief. In an epic team-up, we see Goel take the stage and kick some ass. But what has to be done does not come easy.
Wait, Vol'jin. Horde is spilling Horde blood. It's tearing me apart.
We need you, man.
I know. I trust you to lead the siege. I am needed elsewhere. I refuse to believe that all of my brethren support Garrosh. I am going to Orgrimmar, alone. Eitrigg, Sarfang, surely they are standing against Garrosh. I must find others.
You set one foot in Orgrimmar, Hellscream gonna bury a knife in your neck.
It's a risk I have to take. But if I am killed, please, watch over Agra and my boy.
I won't hear you say such things.
It has to be said, Vol'jin. If we don't make it through this, I want you to know you have always been my friend, my brother.
For the Horde.
For the Horde.
And so, the Alliance and Horde combined their forces and went through the siege of Orgrimmar, with Thrall and Saurfang going in ahead. In the past, Garrosh has stood little chance against his Warchief, but now he has the power of an old god on his side, and he has come prepared.
It is not too late, Garrosh. Lay down the mantle of Warchief. We can end this here, now, with no more bloodshed.
Ha! Do you remember nothing of honor? Of glory on a battlefield? You who would parley with the humans, who allowed warlocks to practice their dark magics right under our feet. You are weak. We are the Orcish Horde, the true Horde. We die, bloody and thrashing on the field of battle, like true orcs should. You are an orc no longer, and speak for none but yourself. You betrayed our people to forge your fragile alliances, and I will take great pleasure in tearing them apart.
Then you have forced my hand. I will correct the mistake I made long ago. Spirits of the wind, the earth, the water, hear my call! Come to my aid!
Fool! My dark shaman have twisted and tortured the elements for miles around. They cannot hear you now. Once again, you prove too weak and powerless to do anything.
Never powerless, Garrosh. And never alone.
So, you wish to face off against a real orc warchief. So be it.
With the elements in turmoil, and the old god Yasharaj empowering the Warchief, It fell to the heroes to do what had to be done, after draining the heart completely, showing us all the future that Hellscream had dreamed of. We put an end to his reign, but not to his life.
You disappoint me, Garrosh. You are not worthy of your father's legacy.
His punishment is not for you alone to decide.
I won't let you take him.
We have all suffered from his atrocities. My people, more than any other. Let him stand trial in Pandaria. There, we will mete out justice for all.
The Horde's leader is taken captive, and it's Vol'jin that had held them together, so Thrall decides to appoint him to be the new Warchief. A trial was gonna decide the fate of Hellscream, or at least so they thought. Goel's biggest mistake was released from prison by the bronze dragon Kairos Dormu, who then took him into an alternate reality, an alternate Draenor before the orcs drank demonic blood. Changing events in already changed reality, it gave rise to the Iron Horde, led by none other than Warchief Grommash Hellscream. And while the origins is different, under Garrosh's guidance they still set their sights on our Azeroth. The dark portal turned red, and heroes stepped through, Goel included, to chase down Garrosh and stop this threat. This was also an opportunity for Goel to meet with his parents, see Durthan and Draka in action, even if they were only an alternate version. Sadly, they didn't do a whole lot with that opportunity. They didn't really dive into their family relations, or have a whole lot of interactions between Thrall and the orcs that had meant so much during his life. Instead, the focus on Goel was mainly on getting to Garrosh, clean up the mistakes that he had made. At the Stones of Prophecy, where in our reality, Thrall had shown Garrosh the truth of his father, instilled a sense of pride within his heart, the two orcs entered the Mak'gora.
You must answer for your crimes, Garrosh.
All I did it for the Horde!
You failed the Horde!
You made me Warchief! You left me to pick up your pieces! You failed me! You never had the strength of a true warrior.
I do not rely on strength alone, Garrosh. My power is all around you.
You made me what I am.
No. You chose your own destiny.
There are those out there who believe Thrall cheated by using the elements, and that is the reason why he had so much trouble connecting with them after his execution. I personally don't believe that he cheated, but that's neither here nor there. The whole part about the elements not coming to his aid, that has more to do with his inner turmoil. Similarly to when he was so unfocused within the Cataclysm, dealing with Garrosh, it was a massive blow to Thrall. He did what he had to do, but he still ended the life of the son of Grum, the son of his brother. Garrosh also said some strong words during their fights, and while Thrall rebukes them, there is some truth to them, and he knows it. It was his decision to appoint Garrosh as Warchief in his absence, hoping beyond hope that the promise, the potential that he saw within the older orc, that it would make him a great leader. The death of Cairn, the bombing of Fedamore, the destruction in Pandaria, and so much more. Thrall is and feels partially responsible for it all, which is why he's having trouble grounding himself, connecting with the elements. A problem to be sure, especially when the next threat showed up. The biggest invasion of the Burning Legion as of yet. This time, the Horde and Alliance are working together. On the Broken Shore, they try to stop the Legion. But the might of the demons, it's too much to handle. Goel crawls on the ground, and the Horde is forced to call the retreats, abandoning the Alliance to their fates. In turn, Varian Rin sacrificed himself to buy his people their escape, as Vol'jin's life is also ended before he could do anything meaningful as Warchief. He passes on the title to Sylvanas Windrunner, while Goel calls upon shamans to join the Earthen Ring for an emergency meeting at the Maelstrom. The greatest shamans of the world are gathering there, but not even a Maelstrom is safe from the Legion, as Gefzun and his troops, they show up to crash the meeting.
I've got this one, Shaman. Help the others!
Are you the so-called World Shaman? Ha! You fight like a crippled bird! You will die! Your precious earthen ring will shatter! Your world will succumb! The Legion will...
The Doomhammer.
We're able to repel the attack, but the demon, as well as the Doomhammer, have fallen into the Maelstrom, all the way down to the elemental plane of Deepholm. It would be wise to keep it from falling into the wrong hands, so we quickly go after it.
Thrall, that demon is still alive down here!
All the more reason to get to the Doomhammer first. Doomhammer. It felt like dead weight in my hands. The elements were silent. It has been this way since I used it to slay Garrosh.
Keep your eyes on Thrall. He's wounded. He's likely to kill himself down here. And I don't want to be the one who has to tell his wife. Watch it! That thing's corrupted by the Fel! Kill it!
I remember the night Orgrimmar fell. Run through by a knight's lance during the liberation of the last orc internment camp. As he bled out onto the fields of Arathi, he bestowed the Doomhammer to me. The Doomhammer is not merely a weapon. It is a symbol of hope, of power. Proof that an individual can change the world. We've got to keep moving. Gefzun is close.
Look! There he is!
What is this sorcery? This hammer. I must claim it for my masters.
Shaman, we can't let that weapon fall to the wrong hands. I'll distract him. You grab the Doomhammer. No time to argue. Go! Hey, you there! Me bird crap scarier demons than you! Oh, aye! Come get some!
The Doomhammer! Get the Doomhammer! Prove your power as a shaman!
You got it! Oh!
Pathetic, puny shaman! That hammer did little to help its last master. I will bring down this whole cavern! I will corrupt your sorry world from within!
The whole of Azeroth will rise against you, demon! The very earth beneath your feet and the skies above your head will lash out against your damned crusade!
There are others. We are Legion.
I think I'm done, Shaman. It's the end of the tunnel for me. May the ancestors thank you.
The Doomhammer chose you, Shaman. Already you wield it with a power that I never tapped into. I must go my own way. I have a great deal of thinking to do. Agra will be at the Maelstrom shortly. Listen to her counsel. She has taught me so much. Go back to the Earthen Ring. Bring them together. Turn their might against the Legion. This is your time.
Our connection to the elements, it allows us to tap into power that not even the world Shaman Goel was able to tap into. We take the lead in the battle against the Legion, as clearly Goel has a lot of soul searching to do. Azeroth earned their victory and then returned home to a wounded world. Sylvanas Windrunner was going to bring the war back in Warchief, setting her sights on killing the worlds. First step, taking on Darnassus. The expansion Battle for Azeroth, in which Sylvanas made Garrosh look like an amateur. But still, the story was very much the same. The world rose up against her, made ready to kick another Warchief out of Orgrimmar. Throughout it all, Thrall remained pretty much absent, living his life with his family in the Grant. That is, until Sourfang showed up in need of his aid.
So, this is home now.
Home. Family.
And where are they?
Not far.
This world... well, it looks good. But it's wrong. Broken. Falling apart. Just like the Horde. Do you know? Do you know what she's done while you've been hiding?
I left that life behind. I'm no one's savior. I will not lead the Horde.
I didn't ask. But I hoped you would at least fight for it.
You were followed!
I followed them. You and I, we don't get to hide.
As far as I can tell, we see Sylvanas sending out assassins to take care of Goel before he could come back and become a threat. I do wonder how she could think that 2 assassins were going to be enough to take him down, and why the assassins didn't wait with their attack to either hear Goel's answer or catch him without Saurfang there. Either way, regardless, the old soldier is able to convince him to come back. In the meantime, Bane Bloodhoof has gone against his Warchief's wishes and aided Jaina by returning her brother. He's now held captive within Orgrimmar, bait to take another shot at ending some powerful threats. But working together, our heroes manage to escape with their lives and they rescue Bane.
Thank you. Bane would have died without your aid.
I couldn't let that happen.
Nor could I. I refuse to fail him, like I failed his father. I wish I could change it all. Cairn, Garrosh, Theramore. Sometimes it feels like I did everything wrong.
We all have blood on our hands.
And now, Sylvanas will come. Thunder Bluff will burn, just like Teldrassil.
Once before, you and I stood side by side on the slopes of Mount Hyjal. That world tree did not fall, because the Horde and the Alliance worked together.
Horde, Alliance. We've come to this crossroad again and again, Jaina. It always falls apart. What's different this time?
We are.
Once more, the Alliance and Horde gathered for a siege of Orgrimmar. Except no war would have to be fought. Varrock takes it upon himself to challenge Sylvanas to Mak'gora, a duel in which he does lose his life, but he also earns victory. He exposes her, showing them all that she has no love for the Hordes, to which she flies off into the next expansion. Thrall still refused to become Warchief again. After all that has happened, it was time for the Horde to change. They would now have a council. All voices of the different races, the different families would be represented. That's something that he would be a part of, to fight for his beloved Hordes. Quite the difference compared to where it all started from, and yet also very similar. Despite wanting to change and wanted to go towards some kind of peace with the Alliance, there were those that could not forgive and forget what Sylvanas and the Horde had done, and there were many that wanted to bring Windrunner to justice. But unlike Garrosh, she was not taken prisoner, nor was she placed on trial. She pursued her dark schemes by shattering the Helmet of Domination, opening up the veil between Azeroth and the Shadowlands. Her Valkyr then fly out and kidnap Bane, Anduin, Jaina and Thrall. They also try to take Tyrande with them, but she's a little bit too much to handle. Off they go, a one-way trip into Hell, or the Maw as it's called, where Sylvanas' ally the Jailer is imprisoned. He wants to break out and make his way to Zed of Mortis, also known as First One's Land. To make those dreams come true, he needs someone special, perhaps someone like Thrall. The heroes of Azeroth are summoned to go after them and save their leaders. The first time they try, it doesn't really work out, as the Waystone, their ticket out of the Maw, it only responds to the heroes for some kind of reason, meaning that Thrall and the others, they're forced to stay behind. Enjoy the hospitality of the Jailer for just a bit longer.
Whoever you are, whatever you want, I will fight you. You will not break me.
After partying through the Shadowlands, fixing problems and making allies, the heroes go back into Torghast, home base of the Jailer where our allies are kept. Eventually, they track down Thrall. So far, we've seen him swing his new weapon around, which is called Dragora, which means Draenor's honor. After throwing it at Helya, he have tried out a couple of different ones, but all the same, he's sticking with his weaponry rather than his shamanistic gifts.
Elements, hear me. Give me the strength to...
For some reason, the Torment of Torghast, it changes that, and he wields the elements once more. Together we escape. And the only one that's left behind, the only one they were unable to save, is Anduin Wrynn. The Jailer has his eyes on him, as Anduin is exactly what he's been looking for. A puppet to get him those sigils he desires. We try to stop them, of course, but we fail horribly. The Jailer's plans push on ahead, and under the guidance of the Primus, we prepare ourselves for the worst case scenario. We reforge the sigils, while also taking on the forces of the Jailer within the Maw. Now being here in the Shadowlands, being in the afterlife, It does mean that Thrall finally has the chance to meet with his parents, or at the very least meet with his mother Draka, as we haven't seen Durotan.
I knew who you were the moment I saw you. Do you really think I would not recognize Durotan's eyes? You were but a babe when I died. Tell me, who have you grown to be?
I was once Warchief of the Horde, the Shaman of the Earthen Ring.
That is who you were. Who are you now?
I am uncertain. Much has happened in my life. I do not know where it will lead next.
A lesson, then. Not from mother to child, but from one similar soul to another. Remember who you were, but take pride in who you are. I once thought death was the end, but now, as a warrior of Maldraxxus, I see that it was only the beginning. It brings me joy to see how far you have come. And I know you have much farther to go.
Thank you, Mother. I will make you proud.
Come. I wish to know more of your life. All of it.
Quite sweet, but we don't have a whole lot of time to catch up. Not with the jailer getting ever closer at breaking out. Thrall joined us into the Sanctum of Domination, where we fought our way all the way to the top. Sylvanas and Anduin, they keep us busy, while the jailer reclaims the powers from the Arbiter. At last, he is all he needs to fulfill his master plan, whatever that might be.
To their mercy. Come. Be the first to witness reality's end.
Cannot let him reach thee.
And that's pretty much where we're at for the story of Goel. The story of Thrall, World Shaman and Warchief of the Horde. The storyline in the Shadowlands, it will have us chase after the jailer into Zereth Mortis, uncover more secrets of the first ones, and of course, try to stop the jailer. Sylvanas is left behind in our custody with her soul now restored. Time will tell what the conclusion of that story is going to be. It's interesting when you just take a step back and look at the long road that Thrall was given. If there's one character that symbolizes Warcraft, Thrall is definitely up there. From slave gladiator to Warchief of the Horde, reforming it from its corrupted dark origins into a family, trying to carve out a piece of the world that they could call home. They then took him on a journey of becoming this world shaman, standing right there with the dragon aspects in their battle against Deathwing and N'Zoth. He became a bit larger than life. At least I recall the feedback back then that they made him a little bit too important, so they decided to push him back a bit. Not to mention that Chris Metzen also left the company. They pushed him more into the role of a family man, and yet they were unable to let him go. Bring him right back into conflicts, into this new council that rules the Horde and into the Shadowlands. What more can they do with his character, I wonder? Is it perhaps time for him to enjoy a nice and peaceful retirement? Perhaps so, but not right now. Not when we still have the Shadowlands to finish. So for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed the deep dive into the story of Thrall. Subscribe if you like my videos. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one. And until next time, see ya!